Awesome. Welcome to another episode of Fight the Burnout. Today we have Kim Dickinson. She lives in Canada. She's a nurse, an entrepreneur, a wellness coach. Yeah, you name it, she does it. She's a blogger. She used to travel a lot, obviously pre-COVID. Do lots of things. We were just having a really good chat before we started actually recording this interview, so it was pretty cool. But Kim, I like to let everybody introduce themselves. So tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and also maybe an experience with your biggest experience with burnout.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. So yes, my name is Kim. I am a nurse manager. I actually manage a retirement community, doing all their wellness, as well as I'm a yoga instructor. I am a blogger. I'm a writer. I published a book, and I have myself been through burnout several years ago, and it actually really helped me to focus in on who I was instead of who I thought I needed to be or who I was supposed to be. Like I was really, for a long time, I thought my career is who I was, and without my career, I would be have less value or be of less worth. But it wasn't really, ticking any boxes or making me feel very whole or complete or fulfilled by any means. And it was all mindset. So that really did sort of lead me down the path towards life coaching, mindset, abundance, just all these really beautiful, lovely, the universe consciousness. So when you're in burnout, obviously you're not thinking these beautiful, wonderful things. You're thinking, I'm a failure. Nobody will love me. I'm nothing. Everybody hates me. Everything is too big. And I would cry over the littlest things. And any comment somebody said, I took it as a personal assault. I had trouble sleeping. I had trouble eating, which I weigh 100 pounds soaking wet. So that was, a bit of an issue. I got ulcers that I had to go see doctors to get treatment for. It was just a really hard time. And so I couldn't slow down. And, my life has always been fairly chaotic in certain respects. And I never really knew how to slow down, and I didn't really know how to pace myself. And I didn't really know how to find balance, even though I felt as though internally that is something I needed. So when I experienced burnout, that was when I was kind of triggered to be like, okay, no, wait, I'm sick. I'm having mental health issues. Clearly something's not working for me. And I think, it did take some time. I made the choice to step away from that position, that career, and do something somewhat different, because I just was so low. My self-esteem was shot. My self-worth was shot. I didn't think I would be good at anything anymore. I did something more administrative that was less nursing for a while, until I sort of slowly recognized what was actually going on, and then sort of how to heal myself. And from that, I sort of recognize healing myself and making that a priority will then also help others to heal, and sharing my experience and speaking with fellows such as yourself and, listeners around the world. It gets rid of that stigma. When we're all talking about something and we all have experience in it, it's not just like, oh, burnout it would never happen to me. I'm too proud. There's too much ego. You're just fearful of what will people think. And so, I really appreciate and I'm grateful for these conversations, just because I do know that they will end up healing us instead of, continually wearing this mask of professionalism, of what we should be, of what we feel other people need us to be or want us to be, or like we're constantly living up to other people's standards, and they're not attainable and they're not realistic, and it ends up breaking us down.
Definitely. It's interesting you say around the releasing it and talking about it, and that it's one of those things that I always say to clients and to people is talk about it, tell your truth, be honest. Don't worry about what the other person's going to think. Just let it out, because it has less power over you. Plus, you never know who you're going to help or who needs to hear it.
Yeah. And, even to this day, I know, a lot of people that are very close within my life, they are still very challenged even to tell the truth about anything, like anything. They will lie through their teeth about everything just because they're so uncomfortable telling the truth. They've lived their whole life I am supposed to be this kind of person. And, I find this a lot with men, and, I'm sure it's with women as well. I mean, we have insane standards that society gives us, but, men also have that where, you have to be strong. You can't have emotion. Real men don't have feelings, all this stuff that we're sort of taught to just accept. So it's really challenging, especially I feel like now, because, you're supposed to be the strong ones. You're supposed to be the steady, rock steady, and the provider and whatever. And it's interesting for me because I can see it through that lens. And now I'm sort of focusing on how do we deal with the grief that's behind the burnout? How do we deal with that feeling of emptiness and the void that leads us to becoming burnt out because we were constantly trying to fill ourselves with what we think other people want.
No, it's very true, especially depending on where you are or where you're raised in the world, I think, or even by the family that you're raised, or how successful or not, or all those different pressures around you, or what schools you went to. It all adds to, and my belief is that it all comes from your childhood, literally.
Yes.
Just like we know everything comes from our childhood. So all the parents out there, I know you're a parent as well, I'm not, but all the parents out there, you are going to fuck up your kids. But just do your best and they'll work it out, and just be there for them through the whole thing is my advice on it.
Yeah. And that's sort of the tack I've taken because, through the burnout, again, a gift, I was able to reflect on, why am I this way? Why am I constantly looking for external validation? Why do I feel like I'm a failure if X, Y, and Z? And it did cause me to go and look at the trauma that I experienced as a child. My family, very chaotic, not necessarily healthy, not necessarily even aware of the dynamic. But because of the experience I've had with all kinds of, the whole spectrum of mental health, I have dated all the people that were very reflective of how I grew up as well. Yep. All my relationships very much aligned with the experiences I had as a kid, because that's what normal was to me. And and narcissism is absolutely the river that runs through it in all of it. So to be able to understand that and then be able to step back and kind of go, okay, I have some healing to do. It wasn't just the job. It wasn't just, the toxic environment. It wasn't just the relationship. It wasn't just, there is so much of myself that I didn't even realize or know or remember. I just in the last year, I started remembering all these not very nice things that a member of the family had, experiences that I had had with them. And, I'm 40 and all of a sudden things are just cropping up and I'm going, oh, dang.
It's interesting on that one because, people don't realize that, a seed causes a massive tree.
Yes.
When you think of an experience or even just the way that you say something to someone, I'm ex-law enforcement. So, back in the very beginning of my career, I would always be sitting there trying to give constructive things to going to domestics, being like, hey man, you can just literally go for a walk and take a big breath, or just walk out the door, take a big deep breath, and then come back and actually talk. Just trying to plant those seeds. And I didn't realize what I was doing until after I burned out and I left and went through all my journey as well. Yeah. But this is what I teach like my police prep clients is when you're in the back of a patrol car with somebody, or you're in that car, you're in that house, by dropping one seed, it can shift and change everything.
Yeah.
Same thing when all of us as kids, that one seed of, am I good enough?
Yeah.
That one seed of somebody saying that you're never going to amount to anything can be a driver, but it also causes that, am I good enough? So you're depending on your personality, you go one way or the other. Either you do nothing or you do a whole ton, but then you resent a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah.
So it's realizing that those seeds, but also the same thing means if you want to see where a tree comes from, you've got to go all the way into the roots.
Yeah. Yes. and dig and do the work. And it's not fun and it's not easy and it's not glamorous and it's not rocket to the Mars, it's the nitty gritty. I have a lot of things to work on and that's okay. Yep. And it's like, I'm not less of a person because of the things that happened to me or the way that I allowed others to treat me or what I would tolerate because I thought that I was worth less.
Hmm.
or because I didn't think I was deserving of. Like for the longest time, even finding getting a job, I totally thought, well, I'm not, I'm just going to go for whatever I can get. And, like I was always told, be grateful for whatever you can get.
Which is true to a point, but limiting
the way I internalized it was probably, and I think I understand the feeling behind it, but it also really leads you to sort of that base layer of if somebody gives me the light of day, I should give them everything. Because if I don't, they won't love me, and I won't be successful, and I'll be left.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It comes down to the wording, but then also what's going on around in your life at the time as well.
100%. The intention,
the emotions are there, the intention around, but then also the atmosphere and everything that's going around you. Then they all consolidate and add it. It's like the glue within the words that hold it together.
And if you're around people that are, I've fortunately enough, I've had, most of my close relationships have in the past operated on a very sort of covert level where, passive aggression, and they'll say one thing but do something else, or it made trust very hard, and it made me very leery, and if somebody said something to me, I'd always be second guessing, well, did they mean this or did they mean this? Is that genuine or is that not? Or, well, I should just believe them. And so that kind of experience, it's tough. You have to rewire your brain. Once you understand what's happening and what has happened for so long, being pulled into these dramas that are fabricated, and being told X doesn't like Y, and like all of this really dodgy, shifty kind of below the surface stuff, you can absolutely rewire your brain to get around it. And I think the same thing happens with burnout, because our minds start telling us things that aren't necessarily true, because we've kind of got it with the lens of, being burnt out and not feeling like you're coping or doing the right thing, or that you'll never be successful, or, you can't make the deadlines, or, I had a huge problem with boundaries, because I was never taught how to have them. I never taught that they were important. I was never, there were no boundaries. I was told if I had boundaries, basically, that they were wrong. And again, that was something that was very low level. It wasn't right in your face. And I think that's the thing with, manipulative people, or, narcissism, BPD, all these other mental health issues, is it's not in your face. Like psychopathy and sociopathy, it's not like, oh, you should have known. So many people would tell me like, oh, he seemed like such a nice guy, you should have known. Or, why do you stay in an abusive relationship? Why didn't you just leave? And it's like, well, but it's not. No. It's not like that. When you're in it, you don't even know you're in it. It's because it's so insidious. It happens so slowly, and it's just these little chips chipping away, but all of that leads to not having boundaries. And I think that's a big thing with burnout as well, because you can't make those healthy boundaries. You don't know where they should be or where they would be helpful for you. So post burnout, the job that I had after my burnout, it was pretty, it was fine, and I'm grateful for the experience, but it definitely was not fulfilling either. But it, slowly it taught me how to create these boundaries and decide, like, I'm worth more than this. And then I started goal setting and thinking, what am I good at? What do I want to do? What are my goals? How much do I want to be earning? And like getting really, really laser focused on being super clear, having a vision, and just saying, like, this is it. This is what I want. And then after that, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go here, and, a little incrementally higher and higher and higher, because I know what I've been through. Finally, after 40 years, I don't know why it took me 40 years, like some people just get it and they roll, 21 and they, whoa, yeah. But it's me. It took me forever.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, goal setting, visions, boundaries is a massive one that I see. That even myself, I didn't put boundaries on myself, around myself, even.
Yes.
I used to be like, oh, I have to be done with working on my truck when my wife gets home, blah, 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 when really I wanted to keep working on it. and it would have been okay to keep working on it, and she didn't care. But it's and even boundaries around that, and so yeah, no, I like that. So boundaries, visions. So what do you do, Kim, obviously, to what have you learned? What are the specific things? Obviously, there's the boundaries, there's the goal setting, knowing what you're worth. But what do you do now to really make sure that you don't, so you prevent from going back to that state of burnout?
Yeah, which is really important. I think for me, it was, recognizing that I have already experienced it, so I'm not immune to it. Exercising the boundaries, like on a daily basis, checking myself for, if something happens, or if I'm in a situation that's getting stressful, or somebody's becoming aggressive or what have you, that I'm kind of stepping away and reassessing, doing some breath work, doing the spatial recognition, even like, where are my feet? How are they feeling? Where are my knees? Where am I sitting? What's the air temperature? Because there are these triggers that will come up. I mean, it's not like you're done burnout and you're like, okay, everything's fine. Light switch back on. Let's go. Like I'm sure it will be throughout my life, because I've also experienced, anxiety and depression and all these other things. Like I recognize it. And that's why I took my yoga instructor training, because I wanted to have the tools to allow myself to practice when I needed to practice, or learn about, more spiritual things like chakras and energies and crystals, and like whatever floats your music, or, light therapy and sound therapy, and figuring out what works for me. And it's not necessarily going to work for everybody, but focusing in on the things that give me joy or give you joy, so that when we recognize we're getting to that point where it's like, oh, gotta just step back. And I'm very solidly aware now, because working in healthcare during a pandemic, my team is, I see the burnout, and I see them, and I am very quick to, be encouraging, empowering, take your breaks, take your holidays. Like, I am well aware that burnout is a thing. So I want to be able to give other people the tools to also manage it for themselves. So, even movement meditations, my brain is a million miles a minute all the time. So me sitting on a pillow for an hour is not something that I can do. I'm also a single mom. I have a dog. Like, there's just, you can't, for me, that doesn't work for me. For somebody else, that could be perfect. And I absolutely applaud anybody that delves into and is able to do that. But for me, it's, it's movement meditations, things like dancing, singing, putting on a sweet, your favorite song in the car on the way to work, and just rocking out.
Yep.
I don't care who's watching me, drive and death metal on it's whatever, like they usually end up laughing about it anyway, and then they go and have a good day. Complimenting people from a very honest perspective, because when we are giving joy, when we're planting those seeds of joy for other people, we're also bringing it back. It's like the karmic circle, it's, what can I do? And it's so simple. It doesn't take much effort or energy or anything, but even like, oh, I like your hair scrunchie, or, oh, nice shirt. Like, just anything that is genuine, though. Don't just make something up because it sounds good.
I love that. The thing that hit me while you were talking there quite hard was the whole thing of what works for you might not work for somebody else. Because I'm the same way. Like, I've done the sit in peace and do meditation, and I can do it. But again, I'm the same. I want to get moving and stuff. Sometimes I have to sit down and I have to do another thing, and sometimes I will. But normally it's when I'm on my motorcycle and I'll see a really cool view and I'll pull over and I'll be like, okay, cool. I'm going to take a second here. I'm going to drink some water.
Chill out. Be in the moment. The mindfulness bit.
But my meditation, I say this to lots of different people, my meditation is going for a motorcycle ride.
Yeah. And honestly, I've heard that quite often, and that's great.
And there's actually, somebody did a research. I saw it a while back. Somebody shared it with me. They did a research paper on how motorcycle riders are actually normally happier than general public.
Interesting.
And it's because it forces you to be in the moment.
You have
to be in the moment. You can't be thinking about, my wife constantly, when I hop into the car, I'll be like, I'll forget shit. I'll be like, I'll be like, oh no, and then like autopilot kicks in. And whereas when I'm on my motorcycle, it's like, okay, I'm here. What's around me? What's going on? You know, and I'm literally in the moment, and I'm actually present and actually thinking more. And it's those things. And then yeah, the other one that I was like, yeah, that giving people compliments, even just smiling.
Yeah. Well, I wear a mask 9 hours a day.
Yeah,
So.
you can't.
But I smile with my eyes.
I was gonna say, I wore when we went into when COVID all started, you know, last year, from when this is being recorded, when it all started, I went back and I started doing security work at the hospital because my wife lost a job, and so we needed some more income. So on top of my own business, I went back and I was doing some security work, which I'd always said I'd never do because it burned me out before I even became a cop. I was like just hours and just hating it so much and not liking it. So I was like, oh, but then I went back and did it because of different reasons. And I went into my why and all the different tools that I teach and use and did them on myself. And, you know, it was interesting. We were all wearing masks. Well, most of us, and all the nurses, all the doctors were wearing masks, but you could still tell when they were smiling.
Yeah.
You could still tell when they were really grumpy and really shitty, and you can tell when they were really happy and they were smiling because you could see it. You could see it in
the eyes.
And the energy that they just put off. It was like, okay, don't talk to her. She's a little, she woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Had a tough day.
Yeah, she's having a tough day. She's just not coping. Okay, can I help you with anything? Is there anything I can do to support you? Right.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, just making that little comment to somebody can just take somebody from being hating the day to absolutely loving it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think of, you know, using compassion in the sense that what would help me in this moment, or if I was feeling like this was like a 20% or less kind of day, what would help me? And so even just giving that back and being like, I really appreciate that you're here today. I value your time. I'm so grateful that you're even here today, because I mean, in healthcare, a lot of people decided they were done. Or, you know, and there's in Canada, we've had single site orders. So that means you cannot work in more than one facility. So at the beginning of COVID, you basically had to say, okay, I'm only going to work at this one place. And for a lot of people, they only survive by working 2 or 3 different jobs. So add that sort of cabin fever to a super stressful, heightened, hypervigilant, you know, like I applaud the company I work for. They've done a fabulous job. We've had really low rates of transmission and everything. And it's because it's like, even if somebody had a runny nose or a headache or didn't sleep well, we were swabbing, isolating, and contact mapping like right away. So it was like, drop everything you're doing and go to this person. And then who have they been in contact with for the last 3 days? They're also swabbed, isolated, contact. Like it was just, because we're trying to head it off before it, you know, careens out of control, and living with that stress response all the time. Oh my gosh. And, you know, everybody feels it and everybody's trying to manage it. And so just, you know, for me, it was sort of saying, I can only do what I can do. And understanding like expectation is basically, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do the best I can with what I have, where I am every day. And that's all I can do. Because, you know, like I said earlier, the expectations we feel from others, and I mean, in healthcare, whatever field you work at, you know, you're going to always feel these pressures, but to put it back into perspective and knock yourself out of that kind of train of thought and just going, I am doing the best I can. If you recognize that somebody's having a really crappy day and struggling or complaining or starting to, you know, negatively gossip with other people, just think, that is because of where they are at. They're doing the best they can with what they have. And maybe, you know, their home life is a mess. Maybe somebody yelled at them today. Maybe they've got an abusive partner. You know, maybe their dog died. Maybe somebody had a miscarriage, and just try and think like, kindness is so simple if we receive it as well as give it. Like I've been in the position where, you know, I've received very little. So it's very hard, you know, and in those situations, I still would, you know, I'd volunteer and I'd do clothing drives, and, you know, like I would just give and give and give and give, because I thought, well, if I'm putting this out into the universe, it's going to come back. But it just started to deplete me because I didn't have anything. I wasn't filling my own bucket first, you know. I was focusing on everybody else's happiness and not my own.
How'd you start filling your own bucket while doing all that?
I changed my mindset. If you know, and it's easy to say, like in nursing, it's the big thing. I mean, even when you're in school, it's like, well, if you don't take care of yourself, then you're not going to be able to take care of others. And that's so easy to say, but so hard to do, especially when you're coming from a place of, low self-esteem and low self-worth, and feeling, for most of my life, I only felt worth if I was helping somebody or serving somebody or doing something for somebody else as opposed to myself. So, I mean, even this past year, like I started getting my nails done, or like, having my hair done, or buying really nice mascara. Oh my gosh, beginning of the pandemic, I started buying really nice sequin gowns.
Okay, cool.
And bikinis, because I live in Canada and it's freezing, and why not? But really, I was like, if I'm going to die in this pandemic, I'm going to die wearing a freaking floor length, fully beaded, chiffon, mermaid. I'm going to look effing fabulous.
Yeah.
So, and those little things like, I'm an essential worker, so I haven't had to stay in my house for the year, but I basically go to work and come home, maybe get some groceries or order groceries from Costco or from Amazon and come home, and then we're home. And so I will put on a gown while I'm ironing or
That is awesome. I love
cooking.
That's spectacular, because it's so true. Like I tell people I go on motorcycle rides. That's my happy place. Like literally that's so important. Find and it is a way to fill yourself up literally daily.
Yeah, and just the little things, finding new music. I love music. I'm a total Euro pop, EDM, electronic. I am dying that there's no music festivals. So what am I doing? Absolutely blasting in the car. Yeah, totally. I bought like the face crystals to just wear at home, because
it's funny you say that, because I say similar stuff, but I'm like, also have a purpose on whatever you're doing. Like,
yes.
Like buying the dress, you could just buy the dresses, but if you have no purpose to buying the dresses, all you're doing is blowing money out the door. Yes, it makes you feel good in an instant, but actually then having a purpose, okay, I'm buying this dress so I can wear it at home, so it actually makes me happy and fills my tank when I wear it. Whereas, if you don't go through that whole stage, then you're just buying it to buy it because you get that instant dopamine hit. Then you're like, oh, I will wear it, but then you never wear it. So then you get angry because you never wear it. And then
you wear it.
Don't
save it. What are you saving it for? I've just ordered some like Christian Louboutin heels. Like,
that's awesome. Like,
because I have so
my
many
wife
galas.
and I, when we were in lockdown, we did the same thing. We did a date night. So I went up to the grocery store and I bought stuff because we couldn't go to Hawaii. And we're like, well, we're not going to Hawaii for about a year, maybe more, because we can't. And we normally go every year. And so I went and bought like stuff to make, like I bought little umbrellas and bought like pineapple, and like literally we did like, and then we made s'mores
cocktails
on the and I was like, it's do things and have a purpose with them. I love it.
Yeah, and create the happiness. Like you don't have to go to, I miss music festivals, but you don't have to go to these things to have the same amount of joy. And it's like, also what I'm also doing is building that future, knowing that the pandemic is not going to be forever, and the lockdown is not going to be forever, and even burnout is not going to be forever, depression not forever. I do, if anybody listening has issues with depression, anxiety, absolutely, there's tons of support networks. There's really good medications if you go that way. There's just all kinds of things, but really it's looking forward. It's finding something, building something to look forward to, and understanding I may not be there yet, but I know I'm going to get there. And it's having that hope and that resilience to say, this is what I want my future to be. I want it to be, I'm going to be at the opera. I'm going to go to the ballet. I am going to go front row to whatever. I'm going to walk some red carpet someday. I'm going to go to all the galas. I'm going to go to all the events. Let's talk charity. We're going to be a gang of billionaire philanthropists one day, and I have got the goods to back it up. Now.
I love that, because, I'm a person that says to all my people that I work with, and literally anybody that I talk to, create an ultimate vision. Yes, goals are good. Create your goals list, write down everything, take 10 minutes, write down absolutely anything, ask other people what their goals are, steal them if you really like them.
Yeah.
But then create your ultimate vision of what you want life is.
Yes.
literally write down the emotions that you're feeling, what you're wearing,
Yes.
how you're
The
acting,
emotions
the
are the
people
most
you're, yeah.
important part.
The emotions are
It's,
like this, they're like the super glue and the contact glue that holds it all together. Without the
yeah.
emotional side of stuff, the feelings that you're feeling, how you're acting,
Yeah.
without all it literally, it doesn't mean as much and it doesn't hold as much strength.
No. And when you're, if you're thinking about, abundance theory, and again, tons of books on that, hit me up if you want more. I'm big into it because it does work. And it's, again, it's like you are manifesting what you want your future to be. Thoughts become things 100%. So
Yep.
after you get through the burnout and all the other crap, you can start to focus on, okay, none of this is making me happy. What will make it happy? And like I was saying before, like drill down, make it super specific. I want a 3-story brand new build home,
Yep.
brand new appliances, Frigidaire, stainless steel. I want a Tesla in the driveway. I want a boat at the marina. I want 6 months in Indonesia. Like, whatever, just bang it out. Like, I'm going to spend 2 weeks every year in Hawaii. I'm going to, and I'm going to have a condo in this country, and I'm going to meet the people that I can have these conversations with, that are going to, we're all going to be in this together to elevate humanity, elevate spirituality. We're going to do it. And it is going to happen. Be patient. It takes
and
time.
it will, when you write stuff that you put pen to paper, it will come true. Especially if you keep focusing on where you want to get to, not where you came from, but where you want to get to. You need to know where you came from so you can go, I'm never going back there again.
Yeah.
But you need to be more focused on where you want to go to. So Kim, on that, I like to ask everybody why they do what they do. So I do. So I believe there's an underlying why that normally stems from our childhood, from the shit that happened for us when we were a kid. Mine is around my parents. They didn't nastily fight. I mean, it wasn't a horrible relationship, but they fought. They'd have arguments and stuff. And also seeing my brother get bullied, and that created my why of I want to create less pain in the world. And so, i.e., why I ended up becoming a cop, why I do what I do now, all of it keeps me going on during the hard times, and it makes the easy times even better. So, Kim, what would you say your why is that drives you through all those hard times and the easy ones?
Healing. I'm here to heal. I'm a lover. I, for whatever reason, still believe that true love is a thing, even though I've never experienced it myself. I mean, with my child, sure, but that's a different kind of connection. But to heal, it's, narcissism has 100% been in almost every, relationship that I've had. So it's kind of understanding what that is, how it impacts culture, how it impacts relationships. I want everybody to never feel as worthless as I've been, taught to believe by several people. I don't want anybody to ever be homeless, or especially single mothers. I have a very big goal to, create all kinds of networks and foundations so that single mothers don't need to stress about having somewhere to live, because I feel like that is just ridiculous. Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah, but it's just,
do the nursing, you do everything.
Yeah.
Your website, all that. Yeah, that can definitely.
It's just it, and it's, I think my biggest driver is to help people to not find themselves, but reconnect with who they are. Because I think, through our lives, childhood, adulthood, we're sort of taught and told that we should be a certain way. And I think a lot of what's happening in the world today is because we are so disconnected from who we are. Yeah. We're all trying to be the people we think we should be.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. And so, like with your coaching and everything, it's like helping people to figure out who they are, what they want to do, abundance mindset, goal setting. We all have the ability to create an absolutely magical, better future. We just have to kind of get over that, the feeling that we can't.
So, question for you, Kim, what would be your number one piece of advice for, let's go, nurses?
Don't become your job.
I'd say that's all first responders.
Yeah. Sort of separating, this is what we do, not who we are. Although, most people that work in healthcare, we are empaths. We want to help and we want to heal, and we don't like it when people are suffering. But understanding how valued and important you are as an individual, not just as a nurse. If I wasn't to be a nurse tomorrow, I would still be as valued, as loved, as fulfilled. That's at the end of the day, I think we are all missing connection. We're all missing that feeling of love, of like real love.
Yeah.
Again, back to the whole lover thing. But it's because it's been so elusive for me, and I do see it in so many other people. And there's just this real underlying feeling of fear, especially after a year of a pandemic when we've been so disconnected and so fear driven.
Yeah. Fear creates fear, doesn't it?
Yeah. So kind of, being gentle with ourselves, with our minds, as well as our bodies. I know there's a huge emphasis put on a healthy body, that's easy to, if you have something wrong with your body, you go to the doctor and you deal with it. But people, when you have facing challenges with mental health, there's so much more of a stigma, and there's so much more of a latent desire to get help because that means I'm weak, but it's the same.
You're the strong one when you actually put your hand up.
100%.
Law enforcement, where you literally, if you put your hand up, you literally were pulled off.
It gets cut off.
Literally everything that you want to do literally gets pulled out from underneath you. So I watched my boss, his eyes go, oh crap. Because at the time I was looking after the head of state. I was looking after the prime minister at the time. I was his bodyguard, one of his bodyguards.
Oh yeah.
As soon as I said that I was feeling stuff and I needed to take some time off, and that he was like, oh crap, until you get time off, are you going to be okay? I was like, yeah, at work I'm fine. I'm not going to do anything stupid, but at home I just want to do nothing and sit around and do nothing. So yeah, it is. You are not your job. You're you.
Yeah. And giving and honoring yourself and what your needs are. And there's nothing wrong with resting.
No.
Our cultures are so, and my brain is so go, 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 that it's like, I feel guilty if I need to rest.
Yeah. So Kim, if somebody's resonating with you, or they want to learn more about you, they want to find out about your book, how do they get in touch with you? And we'll put the links and stuff down below as well.
Yes. So find me on Instagram. That seems to be where I'm most prolific. You will see me in all my 32 bikinis and all of my, I don't even know how many gowns.
Yeah.
I have a great time with myself and my mirror and the camera. I don't know. I just have fun. Instagram, Kimber Hosen, as in Kimber Pants. Hosen is German for pants. I'm a polyglot. I love learning languages. I've lived all over the world. If you want to find my book, it's called The One Life Movement. It's at Amazon, any bookstore globally. You just look it up with my name. You will find me doing a handstand on a surfboard on a beach. And it talks all about sort of global travel and all the terrible things and mistakes that I've made, basically, and sort of it's an inspirational travel log. I think it's actually self-help, which I find interesting because I never saw myself that way, because I thought I was a disaster. Like I always thought I was a disaster. So I'm like, who would this help? But it's true, because it's all kind of pushing us towards getting out there, figuring out who we are, go out in the world and explore and find out what you do like, find out what you don't like, and drilling down and it, the abundance mindset. Find me on Clubhouse, again, Kimber Hosen. Cool. Clubhouse is amazing. I've met some amazing people. I've had conversations with people that I never thought I'd be in a room with. So that's a really great one. My website, theonelifemovement.com, you can send me an email or whatever, and I will connect with you. I just think connection is so important. And I think it is really one of the things that's going to save us from ourselves.
Awesome, Kim. Well, we'll put all those links down in the description down below as well. Last question I always like to add, just as we wrap it up, the very last question I like to ask everybody: what's your top tip to self-happiness?
I understanding that you're worthy, understanding that you are loved, understanding that you are complete exactly as you are, regardless of successes and failures that we have had. It's sort of accepting that failure is not a bad thing, that burnout is not a bad thing, that having mental health issues is not a bad thing. None of this is, putting you in a box, telling you that you cannot fulfill your dreams or do some wild and crazy things and have an amazing life. It's all actually propelling you towards betterment. And yeah, finding your joy, finding your peace, finding what you love to do and doing it. And it's funny, the universe or God or whatever resonates with you, it will find a way to make it happen once you pinpoint what it is. And through your life, it might change, right? Because our lives are a river. They ebb and they flow and they go here and they go there. But once you recognize and once you're able to put your thumb on whatever it is, all of a sudden it will start to show up.
Yep. Very, very true. Very, very, very true. Any last words, Kim, before we wrap
I love you all.
Awesome. She loves us all. Cool. Well, thanks, Kim, for being on the show. And remember, here at Fight the Burnout, we're always happy to help. As Kim said, she loves people. She loves the help. We do as well. So flick us an email if something resonated, if you have any questions, or if you aren't able to get a hold of Kim, we can help you out. Or if you want more tools, strategies, or even just want to talk to us about how we might be able to help you. Our email is fighttheburnouttpodcast@gmail.com. And remember, we live by the motto here at Fight the Burnout: train hard, test easy. Because if you're training hard, then life is when you get tested, it does make it easier. And all those experiences, all those things that we overcome through our lives, that's us training hard through our tests. So till next time, we love you all. Remember, get out there, get stuff done, move the body, and the mind will move as well. Move the mind and the body will move. And we will talk to you on the next episode. Remember, hit those buttons, any of those ones that everybody tells you to do, the like, the subscribe, the comments, and also let us know if there's anybody that you want us to actually interview. And we will do our best to get up and reach to them. Till next time, we'll talk soon.